Hello and welcome to Ninqueso Almost Live. This is episode number 58. I am El Gran Queso and I am joined by Miss Bree.
Hello, bestie. How are you?
I'm not too bad, thank you. How are you this week?
Do you know, I've had a rough week. I've had a little bit of online bullying this week.
I know,
very nice,
it's not nice, is
really.
it? It's not nice.
So what happened was I decided to open a TikTok account.
I said that'd be bad.
Yeah.
I said don't do it.
Yes, there's some people I can connect with, and I also thought it'd be an interesting new way to connect. So I opened a TikTok account, and as is these things want, it goes through your contacts in your phone, and it picked up on somebody I know, someone quite close to me actually, and it turns out that about a year ago they'd posted quite a nasty TikTok about me online, calling me the B word, which was a bit of a shock, to be honest, because I didn't see it coming. Yeah. So I contacted them, as you know, it's usually best to do with these things, like get in contact and say,
no, I'm burying my head in the sand person.
Bearing in mind that I'm quite a scary person, yeah.
I take the ostrich approach.
So I contacted them and say, you want to talk about it, you know, just to clear the air, basically the response I got back was, yeah, cool. That's the first sentence, and I was like, no, it's not cool, babe, it's really not cool, and that's just really why I wanted to mention it today to anybody out there. It's not cool.
It's not cool. It's not at all.
Be kind. I'm a big girl, so you know.
See, this is why I say at the end of my streams, and remember, be nice to people.
Be nice to people.
It's not hard to be nice to people, is it? Or just ignore them totally. It's easy.
Yeah,
it's easy.
If someone is not your cup of tea, and that happens in life, you know, you can just sort of like.
It takes a lot less effort just to ignore them.
Yeah. So that's what I'm here to say today is be kind, people, be kind. I think we've had this over and over again over a period of time, you know, unfortunate reminders that, you know, people are people. But let's be kind, shall we? Let's be kind.
It would be nice.
Yeah. So, yeah, apart from that, I'm all good. I'm all good. Thinking about dyeing my hair turquoise.
Yeah. We've
also been catching up over Animal Crossing, haven't we? Because I've created an enchanted forest.
I have heard about this enchanted forest. I've not seen it yet.
Yeah. What have you been playing?
Started Psychonauts 2. At long last. I mean, I literally downloaded that, so it was already installed on my Xbox the day it came out, and it's been like nearly a year now, and I've still only just started playing it. Yeah, but yeah, I'm really liking it. Like the first 3 hours.
You're doing chill streams at the moment.
I am doing some chilled streams where we just I'm not on camera and we just. Do some Animal Crossing or something.
You're still struggling a bit with your long COVID, aren't you?
I'm still struggling, but you know, trying to find ways to get it to work, and I think I'm starting to get to grips with what I can do. Having to take naps when I need them and things.
Napping is my superpower.
But apparently, you must be half cat then.
Yes.
Anyway, we've got a lot to go over today.
We have
a lot.
Shall we start with some quick news?
Yeah, you mean the kind of news we don't really want to talk about, but we feel we should mention.
That's the kind.
Well, Sega is planning multiple remakes and new releases in the next year. Apparently. Multiple. I think they're looking at a lot of their old franchises and going to do some remakes and stuff.
You know the next story? I'm stunned at that figure.
Elden Ring has shipped more than 13 million copies in just over a month.
That's a lot.
I mean, for a Souls type game as well, it's the first one I've ever bought. Yeah. So it's obviously attracting people in. Nintendo Switch. We just had their investor meetings out for their financial year, and they have now sold over 107 million units of the Nintendo Switch. So it's the only one. It's like the PS4 and the DS are the only things it needs to overtake now. And despite the FTC investigations, Sony expects the Bundy acquisition to close this year. If you watched last week's podcast, it feels like months that we normally do them. If you watched last week's podcast, we had a story on that. Yeah. And FIFA 23 will be EA's final ever FIFA game. They're rebranding after FIFA 23.
Yeah, FIFA aren't happy about it, as we'll talk about later.
Oh, they're not, are they?
FIFA aren't happy about it, as we'll talk about later.
They're not, are they? Nintendo says the ratio of Switch Online expansion pack users is especially high in the US. I like the expansion pack. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
Nintendo 64 app is now in the top line of my most used apps on my Switch.
Wow.
Pokemon Home will soon be compatible with Diamond and Pearl remakes and Pokemon Legend Arceus, thankfully. Yeah. It's been ages. And the big one. On May 16th, so 2 days from recording, Monday, Fall Guys has a big announcement, and rumours are they're expecting it to be something to do with the Xbox and the Switch releases. Because they were meant to be coming out last summer. Last summer they were announced for, and they've been delayed. But yeah, Fall Guys is something big to announce on Monday, which is the 16th. So fingers crossed for you Switch and Xbox players. Like I said, we need it to come to that console, because then we got like about a week where we've got so many new people playing. It'll be really easy to get crowns.
Totally.
And that was the quick news.
It was quite quick, really, wasn't it? Shall we move on to the main news then?
Yeah, this is we'll scoot over this. We had an Indie World the other day, and obviously with an Indie World, nothing big or major, but there were a couple of things in there that caught my eye.
So you're a Nintendo dude, so you tell us what you like the look of.
Oh, but most of these games are coming out on Xboxes and PlayStation as well. The two that the only one I'd heard of was Ooblets, and that's only because I've seen someone stream that game. It's not really my sort of game. But the two that did sort of like grab my attention was the one Gunbarella, where you got a gun that is an umbrella.
Of course.
And that actually looked really good. And there was also a Souls-like game, or as they called it, a Shells-like game. So it's like Dark Souls, but you're a crab. And you upgrade yourself by you're a hermit crab. So you change your shells with like tin cans and things for different defense abilities and different attacks and stuff.
Right.
And you're like this cartoon crab that scuttles about. And that actually looked really, really good. But they were the two ones that stood out for me.
Okay.
Everything else is just like, okay, well, yeah. But yeah, Gunbarella and the crab game. Another Crab's Litter, I think it's called. Another Crab's Trash. I'm trying to find where it is. Can't remember what it's called.
Another Crab's Treasure.
Another Crab's Treasure. I knew it was something like that. That's the name of it. I'm guessing you didn't watch any of it and didn't really.
No, it's not my thing.
Didn't even watch my reaction video.
The next story is really my thing.
Yeah, what do we got next? Oh yes, big news.
Bethesda. This is really big news. Bethesda have delayed Starfield and Redfall to the first half of 2023, and I'm disappointed. I have to say, Starfield has been my excited for. That was coming out in November
11th, wasn't it?
Honestly, I would rather they delay it than it be not ready, because we know where that leads.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing they should have avoided was last year. So over a year ago, last year, they gave the date of it coming out on the 11th of November 2022. So I think if they hadn't have actually given the date so far out, I don't think it would have been as big of an issue, because I don't think anyone really cares about Redfall falling. No. Do you know Redfall? What's that? But yeah, obviously I think because they dated it so far ahead, I think that was a slight sort of error.
Yeah, and they dated it the 11th of the 11th, 22, and you know it was like those numbers.
That's what they wanted, the numbers, but obviously they couldn't meet it.
No, so there was a statement released by the studio which said, "We can't wait for you to play Starfield, but we need some more time. We're so thankful for all the support and encouragement, and are excited to show you the game soon. Here at Arcane Austin, we've decided to delay the launch of Redfall. The team needs more time to bring the game to life. Thank you so much for your continued support. Redfall is our most ambitious game yet. We can't wait to show it off soon." So, we've got the usual. We want
like
to
you say,
the best, most polished versions of the game, and that's fair, because it's been a long time in the making, and 2 of those years have been disastrous. So
and also it's I think the one thing that Cyberpunk has done well is it's shown us that when a game's not ready, it shouldn't be released. So
Yeah, cyberpunk. We don't really say those words, do we?
So I'm okay with it all. Obviously, better to have the game when it's ready than before it's ready.
I mean, we still haven't seen any gameplay,
but it does kind of like
really surprising.
The biggest, I think, issue here is it now is like, what is it? The last first party Microsoft game that came out was Master Chief. It was Halo back in February,
yeah.
And the next one we got dated was Starfield, and now that's not coming out. So there's not a lot happening for Microsoft this year. I mean, obviously they've got a big showcase coming up soon, though, haven't they? So
wonder if it'll be there, because it's in June, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you still think we will see much of Starfield and Redfall there?
I hope so, because we've seen barely anything of Starfield, have we?
No, really nothing.
So
I've just sort of like cinematic panning shots is about all we've seen. So yeah, it's unfortunate, but hopefully they've got something up their sleeves to like fill out that missing thing.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, what you've said is true. A game that has a definite release date that far in advance, it's always going to be problematic, really.
But of course, Phil Spencer came out to issue a statement in response to this as well.
Yeah, Phil Spencer. He tweeted, actually, didn't he? He said, let's have a look, see if I can see it here.
I've got it if you want me to read it.
Okay, you read it.
These decisions are hard on teams making the games and our fans. While I fully support giving teams time to release these great games when they are ready, we hear the feedback. Delivering quality and consistency is expected. We will continue to work to better meet those expectations.
Yeah, and I mean, really, we've seen that, haven't we, over and over and over again. It's really got to be, and I think we're in the position where no game company really dare go down the cyberpunk route.
True, but you're sort of like more knowledgeable about the interworkings of businesses and that thing than me. Do you think, because obviously, like you say, the last game Microsoft has released was Halo, and we've got nothing really on the schedule. Do you think these games being delayed and the fact there is no games, do you think it's a management problem? Because obviously they're acquiring all these studios, we're getting more and more people, and obviously trying to coordinate that many studios. And from what I've heard, a lot of reports are Microsoft is very hands off with the studios. We've
seen a failure of management across the board in the game industry throughout the pandemic. They were very slow for the type of industry that they were there. They've not been very agile, and they've been very slow off the mark to pivot and take advantage of what was really a home run, should have been a home run for an awful lot of stuff. So I mean, clearly the lead time of some games is not helpful in being able to do that. But on the other hand, I mean, it seemed to have slowed them more than was necessary.
Yeah.
And they don't seem to have sort of like been able to be as agile as you would imagine, because, working from home, I know my daughter works in a brick university, and they were very agile at getting working from home up and running. Their tech department got everybody out with laptops and printers very, very quickly. But I'm kind of like a bit of a loss as to why many game studios
I think a lot of the games
struggled with the pandemic.
I think a lot of the game studios struggled because a lot of what they do they value as very highly confidential information. Like really, obviously they don't want leaks getting out. So obviously we saw it happen with like the Capcom leak and things where they're releasing very much, here's what they're working on for the next 5 years. So
but I can tell you, there are ways to do it. There are ways for things to be secure if people are working from home. And like I say, for a tech industry, they were slow off the mark, because here we are more than 2 years after the onset of the pandemic. And, really, we don't seem to have seen the type of pivoting of business that I would have expected. All we've seen is we didn't put enough investment in during the pandemic, and everything's slow. So I'm surprised. Starfield, I always thought it would be delayed anyway, but they've said it's going to be in the first part of 2023. I think it'll end up going into the following financial year. I don't think.
Do you think it won't make it April?
And I think that's a specific choice. I think it'll end up coming out in April because either they've got to get it in before Christmas for this financial year, or push it into the following financial year.
I know when Breath of the sequel to Breath of the Wild got delayed, people were like, "Oh, it's because it didn't want to go up against Elden Ring for Game of the Year." Do you think that's could that be any truth? It's as well for Starfield.
I doubt
don't want to go up against Game of the Year.
I don't think they care that much. No, really. They look at sales figures online.
I don't.
But there we go.
Just I've not heard anyone say it about this at all. But obviously that was what was said when Breath of the Wild sequel got delayed.
Yeah.
Anyway, talking about Nintendo.
I just want to say one more thing. Phil Spencer has said we hear the feedback, but Bethesda have put out a statement of their own, and it's just very interesting. They talk about the excitement of the customer and the energy and being what that inspires them. And what they said, one sentence here is, "We can't wait to share our first deep dive into the gameplay for both Redfall and Starfield." And this bodes well for June.
I think this will be, I think a good 10, 15, 20 minutes of the presentation will be Starfield, I think. They're really going to go into it.
Let's move to our next story, which is an update on the story that we carried last week about Nintendo of America.
Yes. It's like the third week now, isn't it? We've had stories. We had the story, then we had Reggie saying stuff, and now we've got the Nintendo of America president responding.
No, he hasn't responded. This is a leak.
Is it leaked?
This is an internal message to staff that's been leaked. So Doug Bowser sent out an internal message, and it's been leaked. He said that he and the executive leadership team found many of the points troubling and were reviewing the content, and reiterated how Nintendo had a zero tolerance for inappropriate conduct, including harassment, discrimination, or intimidation. And frankly, that's very disappointing.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like, oh, there's a problem. That's okay.
Let's go see if we can find the problem.
Yeah, let's see if we can. So, to me, I was like, but it's also who's leaked this, so
could be anyone, couldn't it?
And it's also, this leak has prompted more revelations from other previous contractors. Now, what I will say is, to those of you listening in the UK, a contractor in the UK is a self-employed person. So what they mean is agency staff when they say that in America. So that's important to say, because contractors in the UK is a completely different thing. So they'd said, that their agency staff could be dropped at any moment. And there's a particular contractor known as Ash, who worked in a customer service centre and spoke about their struggles to take time off during a difficult time in their life. And I'm going to read this, and it's quite shocking. They worked in Nintendo's customer service centre for several years through that 2015. Strict time off rules for contractors and limited pathways to full-time employment added to the stress that contractors could be dropped at any time. At any moment. That pressure, they said, aggravated a heart condition. Ash says their moment of disillusionment came when their grandpa died. This is a direct quote. "I was told if I went to his funeral, I wouldn't have a job when I came back." That's a fairly shocking quote, and pretty, inhumane, really inhumane. So these things haven't come out of nowhere, and Doug Bowser has definitely failed to address this head on, and it's very difficult to say. The one thing that I will say is Nintendo of America is different from Nintendo in Japan. Nintendo in Japan are known as quite a good employer over there, but here's the thing: Nintendo of America is part of a wider social situation of just zero workers' rights over there. So there's no maternity leave, and hence the US has one of the highest infant mortality rates in the world, not just the developed world, in the whole world. They obviously often are working 7 days a week. So one of the things that obviously people say about Americans is, well, they never travel anywhere, they never go outside the US. Well, they don't actually have the 4 to 5 weeks paid holiday that we have here in the UK, and definitely the rights of workers in the EU, which we're not part of anymore, shame, are much, much better. So I think this is kind of much of a muchness, but again, I'll see this rumbling on, because if there's a leak and then more revelations, and then there's a leak and there's more revelations, we're still not getting to the root of it.
Yeah, it's just scratching the top surface, isn't it, really? Not getting down to the root of the problem.
Yeah, so
yeah, be an ongoing thing, this, won't
we'll
it?
keep an eye on that one, and in the meantime we'll talk about Xbox outage.
Yes,
offline
they
games.
they had a big failure, didn't they, last weekend, was it? And
that's it.
And yeah, the network went down, but people were getting upset because their offline single player games weren't working.
Yeah, so this is about 48 hours when
it was a long time as well.
That is a long time for them to be down, really.
Yeah, and it just goes back to that thing. It's like, why do you have to be online to play these games? And it's worrying for the future of when these, Microsoft is a big company, I know, but let's just say it goes out of business one day. Then their hardware is worthless if you can't even play a game on it.
I've seen a comment online saying we need to have a serious discussion about how offline mode is completely pointless. And this outage really, does underline that. And that discussion needs to be had.
It's not just Xbox as well. We had this problem not long ago with Gran Turismo, didn't we? On the PlayStation. People couldn't play that when the servers went down.
So what they're saying actually is, there was a fix by setting your Xbox to home Xbox. But to be honest, there are a few people who find that didn't really work either.
Yeah.
So this has opened up a little bit of a Pandora's box, I think, particularly as you say, with the world going more and more playing online. You own nothing and you'll be happy. I'm not sure. I did have it on tangent again, but I'm looking at buying myself a car, and my daughter said to me, "Oh, you should look into leasing." And I was like, "Oh, well, why would I do that? Because it's the same as paying a car loan, but then I own nothing at the end of it." Yeah. Just take my money and give me nothing. I don't think so. That's where we are here, isn't it? If you've got no internet connection and you can't play your games, it's like, where does that leave you?
Exactly, when you paid money for the games as well. And I get they want to check and things, but why does it have to check every single time? Just check once a month, or it must be smart enough to know, say if you've got an online membership or something, when that expires. So all it needs to do is just check that date. But there needs to be a way that you can still play your game, so that this doesn't happen if there is network issues.
So if you've got an Xbox, make sure it's set to home Xbox. But that's no promise that it'll fix it. Anyway, so
yes, what we got next? Because I'm not on the page. There we
do you want to do Microsoft creating the patent?
Yeah, we'll quickly touch upon that because it's fairly interesting. I don't know who the hell in the world would want to do this.
I think this connects to the last story quite well. So Microsoft have registered a patent. Now, we've said this before, but registering a patent doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen. Yeah. It's just that they're protecting their intellectual property. So this is basically a patent, which means that you'll be able to take your disc, if you've bought it on disc, and turn it into a digital copy on your console. So this is quite interesting, but I don't know.
If it's the fact that from what I'm sort of understanding, am I right in that you turn your disc into a digital code, so you lose your disc?
Well, it converted to digital, yeah.
Because if it's you still get to keep your disc, but then you have the digital code on your Xbox, so you don't actually have to keep putting the disc in, or say you've got an Xbox Series S, it doesn't have a disc drive, so it would allow you to play that on there. That would be cool. But if it's you just want to trade, basically it's like a trade-in. Here's my disc, now it's digital code. That I think is ridiculous.
I don't see what the benefit to Microsoft would be there. I mean, this isn't a new concept, remember? So back in 2018, there was a feature potentially being in the works for the Xbox One S, So obviously I got one of those. But the program never launched when the console did. And it's, off the bat, it seems like a kind of neat idea, but I think there's a lot of blanks to be filled in before we go down that road. And like you say,
yeah, I mean,
this patent could verify the physical games for Xbox Digital, because that's what you'd need, really. You'd some kind of verification system.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, like these days with the Xbox, it's like it has to install off the disc anyway, so there is technically no real reason why you have to have the disc in once you're playing the games. It's not like the old days where it would be drawing data continually off the disc. The data is now stored on the Xbox.
The patent doesn't really tell you what would happen to the disc version afterwards. So I think,
for me, if it meant you had a digital code that was tied to that disc somehow, I think that would work nice. You could still keep the disc in your nice on display, but didn't actually have to keep putting it back into the machine. Because obviously, the more you use a disc like that, it is going to risk getting damaged and things. And I know people still like to collect stuff, because I like to collect stuff.
Well, yeah,
I like to have like things. And digital stuff isn't always good.
Absolutely. And I just want to cover quickly the console war abuse on Twitter. But Twitter,
I've heard the Elon Musk buyout is currently on hold at the moment.
Yes, it is on hold, and that's good, because he turned around and said he was letting Donald Trump back on. So I would just like to say that over the past few years, people had speculated that Elon Musk had... oh my God, the word's gone out of my mind. Asperger's. That's not actually... I would like to say that's not a term that's used anymore. So Asperger's really was a term that was used to describe something that was known by some medical professionals as high functioning autism. Now, there's no such thing as functioning, because everybody's autistic. That's just the way it is. But it was basically sort of people who did not have a learning disability as well as autism. So there was a lot of speculation, and he recently came out and confirmed that. And I've seen so much speculation and like muddying of the waters online. I just want to say the autistic community want to have nothing to do with this level of, let's
language.
Yeah, because he's he said the ban is a disaster from start to finish.
Okay, I thought we were talking about Twitch bullying. We're going very off on a tangent here.
No, I'm going to come to that. So a lot of people have said he's kind of a bit of a visionary. His ex-wife would probably tell you a few things different, but he definitely sort of has come into the Twitter and blown things wide open. Now it's on hold, but he was saying, oh, we're going to bring back free speech and we're going to bring back Donald Trump and everything. The thing that I would say about Twitter is it's already abusive enough. There's plenty of free speech on there. We don't need any more. But this just kind of speaks to that example, because the head of UK Xbox marketing has come out and sort of said a similar thing about Twitter. So this is a guy called Samuel Bateman, and he's been talking about the abuse that he received on Twitter. And literally, he had sort of quite a lot of toxic behaviour put in his direction, which I can sympathise with this week. But Twitter is a bit of a space now, whether it's to do with the character limit or whatever. But this particular set of abuse spoke to kind of the platform wars, which to me is a bit of an artificial concept. I don't think there are any platform wars, but he basically said the Xbox Series S was his favourite. Now, because of the hashtags that were used, he literally had people making toxic memes. There was, targeted abuse, people tearing each other down. And this is really just, I mean, it's bad enough with politics, but really, people being this level of toxic over console preference, I think probably Twitter needs shutting down. But we also think, like, where did this originally come from? This idea that there are console wars, because
well, it was the 90s, wasn't it, with the Super Nintendo and the Mega Drive? That's where it really started. I mean, the advertising, obviously in America, the advertising for the Mega Drive was the Mega Drive does what Nintendo don't.
Ooh,
this is where
that's a long. You're showing your age,
you know. So
you really are.
Oh, I've only found that out recently because of YouTube and stuff. I didn't know at the time when I was growing up, because we didn't get. Well, I don't think we got that kind of advertising over here in England. But that whole, it was a direct, like the Mega Drive and the Super Nintendo. That's where it started. That's where the console wars started, and like the kids in the playground still can't get past that. But that's going into like the natural tendencies of majority of people, which is why they get all like aggressive and stuff over sports teams and things. And that's exactly the same thing here. You know, you look at your Switch, you got the red color for the Switch, you got the green color for the Xbox, you got blue for PlayStation.
Yeah,
it's tribalism, and a lot of people are just like, oh yeah. And that's where it comes from.
Is there something about
and the fact that when you go to social media is you're not face to face with anyone, you're just someone on a keyboard, and you feel like you got anonymity. I can never say that word. Anonymity from where you're saying.
I was going to ask: is there something about social media that makes people be tribal, or is it just the anonymity?
Because I think that's social media. They can say whatever they want.
Yeah,
and
I can
it's
tell
just
you
like
the person who targeted me with this video, there's no way they would have said it to my face. And when they found out that I'd seen it, they took it down.
Yeah.
So there's something there's that tribal thing about it, and I think Twitter probably, one of the things about Twitter is the character limit just doesn't allow for nuanced discussion, and that brings out the worst. But to see someone, the head of marketing, really get this level of abuse for simply saying this is my favorite console, I think it has to open up a wide discussion.
And for people watching, it's like, if someone has a favorite console, that doesn't affect you in any way, shape or form. That is their opinion. Your life is not going to change because I like the Nintendo Switch quite a bit, and more than the PlayStation. PlayStation is my least favorite console. I've got a lot of them. I've got PlayStation 2, 3, 4. Yeah. But I very rarely use them because I just don't click with that sort of game that they put on it. But if someone else likes the PlayStation, I'm happy for them. Great. I'm pleased you're happy.
Phil Spencer did say it's one of the worst things about our industry is the whole console war. Yeah. It really does nobody any favours. The marketing teams aren't particularly in favour of it either.
No, I think it's the thing that's not really like pushed by any of the companies at the moment, like now, but unfortunately in the 90s when that was the kind of attitude, everything had attitude, everything was like grungy, it's a great description there, but that's where this all sort of boiled down to, and now we're stuck with these people that watched that advertising when they were in their early like their prepubescent years, now we're in their late 20s to like early 30s, and they've still got this attitude in there because that's what they learned when they were kids.
And I think there are certain platforms which definitely exacerbate it. I mean, I've seen a comment in on one of the message boards about this, which I just thought, well, that's it. It says Twitter, the cesspool of the internet. So yeah.
Anyway, moving on. Moving on. That was a big tangent. That was for news stories. Didn't even have in the list. Didn't even have that news story in the list.
FIFA President throws shade at EA.
Yes, damning press release.
So the FIFA President who put the price up to $1 billion for the old name.
Did he do that when he asked? $1 billion.
$1 billion. Yeah. Someone's bitter.
Yes. Do you want to read the statement he put out, or do you want me to do it?
So this is FIFA President Gianni Infantino. So Infantino is kind of like an extension of the Italian word for child, which interesting side tangent there. Anyway, so here's what he had to say. I can assure you.
Don't do accents. Don't do accents. We don't want to like offend people.
I was doing a Luigi there.
No.
I can assure you that the only authentic real game that has the FIFA name will be the best one available for gamers and football fans. The FIFA name is the only global original title. FIFA 23, FIFA 24, FIFA 25, and FIFA 26, and so on. The constant is the FIFA name, and it will remain forever and the best.
Has he not heard of that? Has he not heard that saying, a rose by any other name will still smell just as sweet?
Yeah. The interactive gaming and sports sector is on a path of unrivaled growth and diversification. FIFA's strategy is to ensure we can make the most of all future options and ensure a wide range of products and opportunities for gamers, fans, member associations, partners. And that's absolutely rich for a guy who is only selling the name.
Yeah, that's it. That is all they do is they provide the name and get lots of money for it. So what do you think?
That they sell the name to someone who develops a fantastic game, but then it may not.
Exactly, and it's like
EA Sports. What are they going to call it? What were they going to call it? I
can't remember.
There's something.
It's
anyway.
EA Sports FC. EA Sports FC.
Yeah, EA Sports FC. So that will still be the same game. So
yes, and they've been working on that for years. So and they've got the developers there who know how to do their games.
Exactly, and
the question is, what is
a lot of the game anyway? So a lot of the clubs.
Well, they've still got all the. I believe they've still got all the access to all the names of the clubs because that's all done through different deals. The only thing they'll be losing is FIFA on anything.
So I have to say, dude, be salty because he didn't get the $1 billion.
Yeah, it makes you think. What do you think FIFA is actually going to do? Because it's like, how many other companies out there do you think would be prepared to go, actually, we'll pay you that money to?
Well, that's it, isn't it?
Do you think a company will go to them and be like, we will do that for this? Can we get the name? Or do you think they'll approach another company? Or do you think they will try and create their own company to make it?
I mean, they're not going to get their $1 billion, that's for sure. Because why would you invest $1 billion into a direct rival for an established brand? So, because EA, remember, keeps the majority of league licenses and player likenesses, as we just touched on. The only thing they're going to lose is the FIFA branding. So it's like, here we are with a brand for $1 billion, but you've now got to sink all the investment money and develop a game to go alongside it. So I
think they're kind of thinking like, oh, well, people just ask for the FIFA game. But I think it's like I think they're going to be very shocked when EA FC comes out and it still sells just as well as FIFA did.
Well, he knows nothing about gaming, does he? Let's be honest. Anyway, dude, just be salty. So,
yes.
Final story for today.
Finally, this is all I could find cute Pokemon related things. Shoes.
You know what?
They're not even that good, are they?
They're not that good. You know, I like trainers. I like my Pokemon, but Pokemon X Converse range is coming out in Japan, and you're going to put a few pictures up, aren't you? I'm just like...
I like the Mew ones. They're all right.
I'm not into it.
All right. But couldn't find much else.
Look a bit like what?
They just can't.
I don't know how much they are. Did you see how much they are? While you look up for that, I'd say we've got Pikachu, Eevee, Charizard, and Mewtwo.
No, just Mew.
Each shoe contains the name of the Pokemon along with its height and weight, Pokedex image, and the All Stars logo. Which is nice. It's interesting.
Yeah,
they're only available in Japan.
They're quite subtle, aren't they? I can't find the price anywhere.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen some people online saying, I never thought I'd import sneakers. Yet here we are. I'm like, good luck with that.
No, I can't find the price. Oh well.
I don't know. So yeah, that's our merch story for today, which was a bit of a damp squib. But I hear we've got some good questions.
We've reached the point of the stream where you can ask us some questions. If you do have any questions, you can either leave a little comment down if you're watching this on the YouTube video, or you can get us on Twitter with the hashtag Ninqueso Live. Okay, we've actually got two questions from the same person, but we can combine them into one question because they want to know who our villages are on our island, and they also want to know, and they also want us to rank them from.
Oh my god!
From the least popular to the most popular.
First of all, I want to start with all my villages are the least popular.
I've just opened the app, so I've got like a list of all my villages.
Okay, they're all the least popular because I don't really want to share my island with anyone. Amazing.
Okay, who's going first?
I haven't got a list of mine actually, but what I will say is I'm all right with all the ones that I've got as long as they stick to their.
We need names. We need names. I have
kind of sectioned it off. I forget their names. Apart from a sheep who always calls me Bavo for some reason.
So if you know the name of that sheep, write it down in the comments now.
Yeah, I've got a sheep. Is it an alligator or a crocodile? I generally ignore them. I have to be prompted to interact with the islanders. I've got a duck. I've got a pig who appears to be a weightlifter but / bodybuilder. And I've also, I've got a few different ones, to be honest. I'm just excited because I've got Brewster's coffee shop, really. That's all I've been able to think of about the past 48 hours.
I'll apologise, Beefy Bartlett. She's not going to answer your question.
Sorry. I'm not interested enough in my islanders.
I even prepped her. I even prepped her on this question a few hours ago to give her a chance to put the Switch on and have a look at her villagers and say who it was. Right. I mean, these are my 10 villagers. In number 10, we have Rasha. In number 9, I am going to go with Marlow. In number 8, we have Annabelle. Number 7, Chelsea. Number 6, we are going to have Cephalobot. Number 5, we have got Drago. Number 4, we are going to go with Coco. Who have I not said? Number 3, we have got Marty. Number 2, we have Tangy. And my number 1 favourite villager, Rodney.
What's Rodney?
He's a hamster.
Oh, Rodney the hamster. I sent you a hamster in a cage, didn't I?
You did. I put it on Market Store. No one's bought it yet, though. They're my top 10 villagers.
I've got Octavian the octopus.
Octavian the octopus.
Yeah.
The doctor.
Weird. His house is weird. Very weird.
Right, let me just.
I don't really like to go in there.
Let me just double check Twitter to make sure no one's done a hashtag Ninqueso live. I don't think they have. Not that I've checked. Ninqueso live. Nope. Last person to do that was you. Have you got your villager list yet? Stop. Copyright music. Copyright music. Take it off. Turn it down. Turn it down.
We'll get a copyright.
Right. That was all the questions. So where can people find you?
Well, I am still on Twitter briefly, but I am coming to TikTok, so I will let you know what my TikTok handle is when I've sorted that out, because I'm quite excited about it. I'm going to do some videos. I need to learn how to use the block function first, obviously.
You can find me on Twitter where I stream. I'm trying to make sure I stream these days on Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays and Sundays, 5 o'clock normal startist kind of time in the UK. Or you can find me on Twitter with Ninqueso or Facebook, or, on my Discord.
We didn't have the what's for dinner question.
No, we didn't, which is good.
Okay.
What's that? Can you turn Animal Crossing down, please? I can just hear it beeping away in the background.
Yeah, it's Isabel. She's quite noisy.
She is noisy. Turn it down. Right. I'm ready.
Are you ready?
Count me in.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Will Ninqueso prep for any of the questions? I'll start again. Will Ninqueso prep for any of the articles? And will Miss Bree prep for her questions? Find out the questions to these answers. Same cheesy time, same cheesy channel.
Actual stories may vary. And that is the podcast for today.
Remember to like and subscribe.
Say good night, bestie.
Good night, bestie.